Hey guys, what's up? It's Ella, and I'm here with my dad and my brother Alex, and we're doing like a top 50 best players in the MLB video right now, because we've seen it like a few other videos ranking theirs, and we don't exactly agree with them, so we decided to make our own. So yeah, we're starting at 50, then we're gonna go like to 1. So at number 50 we have Javi Baez.
Yeah.
And a lot of people left him off of their list, but I think that he's like very valuable to a team. Like, he's good with home runs, and he's like a monster on the bases. Like, he's so good on the bases. Like, he had a rough 2020.
Yeah. He had his best time ever in the second half of the year.
With the Mets.
In terms of laying off on strikeouts and getting walked more. And
yeah.
He was a totally different hitter than he'd been in the rest of his career.
And with the Mets, he had an almost 3 batting average.
100.
Yeah, 300 batting average. And he did good last year.
That's in like 50 games. So he closed the year about pretty much peak performance. And then, so we'll see if he can ride that.
He's also always been pretty, like,
2022.
high on the home runs. Like, he's pretty good with that.
He's a power
so
hitter.
he's definitely a solid all-around player.
Yeah.
Number 49, we have Tim Anderson. Yeah. He's so good batting average. Like, he's so consistent. Like, you can bet on him having a 300 batting average every single season, and that's so good. Yeah. He's been an MVP contender. He's been in the All-Star game. Like, he's so good.
Yeah. He's also, like, as you said, he's really consistent. Like,
he's a batting average guy. He doesn't get on base as much. If he got on base more and he hit for power, a little more power, he'd be, like, really elite.
Yeah.
But because he doesn't get on base a lot and because he maxed out,
like,
he's maxed
not
out at 20.
Counting the hits he already gets. Like, he means, like, walks.
Yeah, his on base percentage is very low for his batting average. And he's maxed out at 20 home runs, which is good for his batting average. But if he hit for a little more power and got on base a bunch more, he'd be elite. But he's not right. But he hasn't been yet.
Okay, so at number 48 we have DJ LeMahieu. He had a down year this year, like a lot of people we have in the 40s, but he's still so good. Like, he almost won MVP last year. Last year he was such a good year. Like, he's high batting average, and last year, considering the 60-game season, he had a high home runs too. And this year wasn't even that bad, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. His stats were definitely down.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad. Like, it was okay.
Yeah, he had almost 270 batting average, which is solid. And home runs, he had 10. That's low.
Hasn't been a big home run hitter throughout his career, so I think you shouldn't count on him hitting more than 20 home runs, but you can count on him having a really good batting average and on base percentage because he has a batting title and he gets on base. So he could be way higher than we ranked him, or he could be falling off.
Most people don't think he did good, and they're forgetting that he had a 364 batting average in 2020.
In 60 games, but he also had a batting title in 2016.
Yeah.
348. That's in a full.
Okay, number 47, Austin Riley. So we're being high on him. We're, like, taking a risk on him, I guess. It's not really a risk because it's just a list. It's like, it's a list.
It's a list.
He had such a good season. I mean, it's a breakout season for him. And I don't know what we can expect from him next year, but I definitely think he's earned a spot on this list. He might not stay on the list, but for this year, we need to respect his good season and put him on there.
He's only 24, so it seems like he's finally showing what he can do.
In 2021, he had 33 home runs and a 303 batting average. And I feel like he should be included.
Yep.
He placed 7th in MVP voting. Yeah. That's just such a good year. That honestly, I don't know how we didn't place better in MVP voting. That's such a good season.
And he had a 900 OPS.
Yeah.
So that's
So we had to put him in at number 46, Pete Alonso. You guys definitely know if you watch my videos, he's our favorite player. Well, our favorite player. Not his, but he's our favorite player.
I like him. I like him a lot.
He's
one of my favorites.
Baseball. We love his personality and stuff, but that's not why I put him on the list. We're not putting him on the list for his personality.
So in 2019, in his rookie season, he had 53 home runs.
Yeah.
And then
rookie record, by the way.
In 2021, he had almost 40. He had 37.
Yep.
And that's also
and he
really good.
He didn't know how to hit the ball at his home ballpark for 2 months.
Yeah.
He didn't have any home runs at his home ballpark for 2 months.
You can expect him to hit more than 40 home runs next season, considering that.
He slumped in 2021, but then he still got a lot of home runs.
Yep.
I don't know how he is consistent. and then starts to not get consistent, and then he's a monster sometimes.
Yeah, before the All-Star game, he was having a little bit of trouble with home run wise. I think he only had 13 or something, more than that, but not much more than that. And we were watching people who wouldn't normally hit more home runs than him hitting a lot more home runs than him, and he only had 3 home runs at Citi Field before the All-Star game. So he was clearly struggling, and it was probably something mental. But then he just got past that, and he was able to mash in the second half of the season. Also, people might think 2020 was a down year for him. Not really. He had a low batting average, 230 something, but he still had a good amount of home runs.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad season, especially since he's not known for his batting average. He has around 260 batting average usually, so that's a lot lower. But it's still decent.
And his upside is he can get on base almost 10% more than his batting average on his upside and have a ton of home runs. And if he can do that next year, then he could be a top 20 player.
A very main problem of his is he can't stay consistent and he's very streaky. But when he is doing good, he's doing good.
No, well, he's not. He's consistent. He's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't need to talk about him any longer. Number 45, Justin Turner. We don't like him, but we were trying to be unbiased on this list. So,
yeah.
So basically, Justin Turner, do you want to talk about him?
Justin Turner, he, former Met. He was, luckily, we love that he had his best days as a Dodger. No, as a Met, he was never anything particularly special. But as a Dodger, he has put together a bunch of really solid years.
MVP contender,
high batting average. Hitting for power, sub 30 home runs, but in the 20s.
Yeah, he's been good.
Really good on base percentage. He's had an OPS hovering above and below 900 for the past several years. This year was a little bit lower, but he's been just really solid and consistent, and there's definitely value there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's been an MVP contender multiple times.
Yeah.
So, next up we've got Jose Abreu. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was the AL MVP in 2020, right?
Yeah, in a 60-game season, yes.
Yeah, he's underrated.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, people don't think so.
He's been an MVP contender almost every year of his career.
Yep. But he is just always a tier below the very elite. But he I think he showed in 2020 that what he can do over 2 months, and if he can put that together a whole season, he can be really much higher on this list. 27? No, he's 34. So he's an older guy.
27? No, 34.
He's 34. Yeah, he was 27 when he started in baseball.
Really?
He was a 27-year-old rookie. So his batting average tends to hover around. It's been around 300. It's been as low as 265 in 2018. So that's the lowest. Actually, 261 was the lowest this year.
Oh yeah, this year's a down year.
And really, 2020 is a little bit of an off year, so I wouldn't really count that. His upside seems like it's a little above 300 or around 300.
So definitely solid.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Max Muncy, who I made a video about how much better he is than how much worse he is than Pete Alonso. But he is good. He's very good at on-base percentage and OPS, and we can't take that away from him. Even though his home runs and batting average were lower than Pete Alonso's. But I'm not going to get into that again.
Yes.
So he's definitely really good. I think he's a little overrated.
A little.
A lot overrated, but people were thinking he'd win MVP, which is ridiculous. But that doesn't take away with how good he is. And at number 43, I think that we ranked him fairly. I think he's very good.
He is like a Moneyball guy. He's like a good hitter, and his on base percentage is crazy. And I think that's really what puts him over the top is that he's the player he is, and he gets on base a ton for his batting average. Over 10% above his batting average. So he's exceptional there.
All right, now we have Francisco Lindor. He's a little odd because he was so elite in 2018 and 2019. He had a little bit of a down year in 2020, but not enough to damage his value too much. This year was pretty low. He had a 230 batting average, 220.
And of course it's on the Mets.
230. Yeah, okay. 230.
Yeah, 230.
So, and he was struggling most of the season. He seemed to put it together at the end. He had a little fight with McNeil where he strangled him.
No.
Raccoon.
Raccoon.
Passionate player.
Yes, definitely.
And he's. I mean, I know he got a lot of bad press because he did this thumbs down things that Javi Baez started and then outed him on. But I think he's a really good player for the team.
Yeah,
but we'll go on from fan talk and talk.
I think he'll have a better season this year because he won't do worse because this was definitely a down year for him. But you can't discard his 2018-2019. He was so elite, almost won MVP.
And in 2019 and 2018, he had 32 home runs and 38 home runs.
Yeah.
So that's
and he was
good.
like a 280 batting average guy, right?
And then all of a sudden he just kind of slowed down.
Yep, 280 batting average guy. Yep. And he's a shortstop, so he's like this, that is a premium position.
Yeah, I think definitely he's still younger than 30. He can definitely put it together.
And he's a Gold Glove guy.
Yeah, he was nominated for Gold Glove this year.
He's gotten Gold Glove, and he's gotten Gold Glove twice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next up we have Cedric Mullins.
He's actually 27, so he's not super young, but he is having a huge breakout. He had a huge breakout year. He was one of those guys
also,
who has been
age-wise, he's probably around his peak, so you can probably expect him to repeat
in
this.
In 2019, he had a 0.94 batting average.
Yeah, he people didn't project this from him, so this is a serious breakout. But with 675 plate appearances,
2020 was good too.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It's hard that's a huge sample size. So I feel we're taking it seriously and we're putting him on the list.
2020 was good too. I feel like
2020
he's underrated.
2020 was pretty good.
Yeah.
But it
he
was
had a
nothing
290 batting average this year with 30 home runs. That's really good.
30 home runs, 30 stolen bases. So fantasy guy. And then OPS just is 878. So yeah, really good. Really good.
Yeah. Cedric Mullins is good.
And now for end of the 40s, we've got Teoscar Hernández.
Yes.
We should probably say the numbers.
I have been informing them.
Okay.
Like every now and then.
Okay, good. We're at 41. We're at 40.
40. Yeah, 40. Okay. So, Teoscar Hernández had a good past 2 years, right?
Yeah. I feel like he came on my radar in 2019. He didn't have he was a below batting average, but he was hitting a bunch of home runs, a bunch of solid home runs, and I feel like he also had a breakout year, but he's been sort of simmering at the surface. And this year, he put it all together.
In 2020, he was good, just not as good.
Yeah.
He was good, but he wasn't, on someone's list good. He helped get in runs and stuff. But, in 2021, he just, did, I feel like his top ability on us.
Yeah. He did really good.
Yeah, he did.
At number 39, we have Robbie Ray. Mm-hmm. And he's a pitcher. He was Cy Young nominee this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's had a really killer strikeouts per nine his whole career. That's the one thing he's been really consistent with. And then and this year is the first year. He's had some good years early on in his career, but this year is sort of, guys, I would say, his breakout year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and he had a very good year, good enough that it definitely warrants him being on this list. And he never. Oh, actually, that's not true. He's had other solid years, but nothing too crazy. But I think he can definitely repeat this and come forward from this.
Mm-hmm.
At number 38, we have Starling Marte. I actually didn't realize this, but he can steal bases super well.
Yeah.
He's a newly acquired Met, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, and he stole 49 bases right? 49?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He stole this year. Yes, because he was on two teams, and his caught stealing percentage is very low.
He's a very fast player.
He's also a batting average guy. So he's when we were one of the comps we had for him was Tim Anderson. And he's just a better version of Tim Anderson.
Yeah.
Because he has more home runs, he has a better...
And less well known.
Yeah. He also has not the best on base percentage. But...
Okay, next up we have Alex Bregman. He's been 5th and 2nd in MVP voting in 2018, 2019. 2020 and 2021, he hasn't had as good of a year. But in 2020, he was... Actually, both years he was decent, but nothing special. No, this year he had a good year. 270 batting average. Last year he did 242, but those 60 games.
Yeah.
How many home runs did he have?
Well, I'm just looking. He's 27, which is like
Whoa.
that's the surprising thing.
I thought he was older.
And he had 12 home runs, but he only had 348 at bats. So it wasn't a full season, but that's definitely a little light on power for him.
And in 2019, he was an MVP.
Oh, 2019 it was a ridiculous season for him. Yeah, it was 41 home runs. His OPS was over 1,000, which is elite.
I mean, in 2019 there was the juice ball, but like still, that's good.
Yeah, that's really, really good. So he's a potential top 10 guy, but he hasn't been showing that recently.
Yeah, but still definitely top 50. Next up we have Kris Bryant, who's actually since his MVP year in 2015, I think, or 2016. He's been declining a little bit, but this year was definitely like a bounce back year for him. Like he was solid this year, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a total of 25 home runs, and that's kind of in line with it. You know, he's usually hitting high 20s to 30s. He's had as many as 39 home runs in his career in a season. And we gave him a little credit for showing like some of his past performance, and he's not. This is the first year in a couple where he bounced back. So we're giving him credit for that.
Also, we're taking into consideration it wasn't long ago where he was an MVP candidate.
Exactly.
And he's also been in the All-Star game this year and 2019, and solid batting average, solid home runs. Like, yeah, he's definitely a really good player. Next up we have Brandon Woodruff, who was
a good pitcher. Like
very good.
He's been very good in the past 2 years.
5th in Cy Young voting this year.
Wow, yeah, that's good. And yeah, he's had a good ERA the past 2 years.
Yeah, he had a sub 1 WHIP the past 2 years,
and a sub 3 ERA this year, and a barely above 3 ERA last year.
Yeah, he's
and
been
consistently in the 3s.
And a strikeout artist.
He's been elite recently.
Next up we have Corbin Burnes, who won Cy Young this year.
Yeah, and he had a really good performance last year, and in the small sample size, and he was in the Cy Young voting.
Yeah.
Before that, he didn't really show up on anyone's radar too much.
Although he's only had above a 2 ERA, like 2 in the 2s ERA once, and that was an 8 ERA.
Yeah,
so that was
he's
off
only
year.
This is his 4th year in the majors. He's 27. So putting 2 solid years together, even though last year was just 6 months, that's meaningful. Pitchers tend to age well. So we rank. I think this is a fair score for him. We didn't rank him too high because of his Cy Young. But we feel like this is somewhat repeatable. But maybe he won't have the same. If we expect him to have the same exact year, he'd be ranked higher.
Yeah, but next up we've got Trevor Story.
At what number?
Good question. 33.
Yeah, 33.
This is definitely another guy with an off year. But he's been so consistent in the past. We had to keep him in the 30s.
Yeah, he's always been like hitting 30 home runs, a good batting average too. He's always been very consistent with his hitting, and he's a very good player. But this year,
high RBIs.
Yeah, but this year he just went a little bit down. But I still expect him to keep going, like on a good rate.
And he's a shortstop, another premium shortstop guy.
Yeah, a free agent this year.
Yep.
But he's usually like a 290 hitter with
30 home runs.
Yeah. So this year was low because it's 250 and only 24 home runs.
Yeah, and he's 29 years old. He's put in a lot of good seasons. So,
and let's not forget that this year, while it was low, it's still a solid season. Like, you can't say that he's a bad player because of this season.
He is a good player.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't tell me otherwise.
Yep.
Next up, we've got Paul Goldschmidt.
A potential Hall of Famer here.
Yeah. He's placed in the MVP voting so many times. He's never won, but he's gotten close a bunch, including this season. I actually thought he'd fallen off, but I didn't. Yeah. When we were making this list, we were checking stats a lot. So, I was like surprised. He's so good.
Me too.
Like 294 batting average, consistently around 300 batting average. High home runs, wow.
And he's been playing for a long time.
Yeah, he seems like his peak was about 8 years ago. So
and it
seems like he's down a little bit off his peak.
But
certainly he is.
So
if he
good.
stayed at his peak, he'd be at like elite Hall of Fame levels. But he's down off his peak. But he's pretty
He's
stable.
still good.
He's pretty
Above
stable
30 home runs.
like above 30 home runs at about a 300 batting average,
which is so good.
and like just sub 900 OPS. So that's
Yes.
really solid
He's
to count on.
He's been playing for 10 years, and that's really good.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Nolan Arenado. He is such a good defender. He's like the best defensive third baseman in all of baseball.
Another Hall of
He is-
Famer type.
He has won a Golden Glove every year for the past 9 years,
Yeah.
I think.
That's his
which
whole
is
career.
insane. He's won multiple Platinum Gloves.
Never hasn't won a Golden Glove.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. Yeah. So yeah, he has had moments in his career where he was in an elite offense, like super elite offense.
Like
MVP voting for in like 2015 to 2019.
Yeah.
And then he's fallen off a little bit recently.
But he's still good.
He's still really good. But so he had a 255 batting average. He had a 807 OPS, down year, but he's got such good history that we have to give him credit for that for sure.
Definitely.
And the glove.
Next up, for number 30, we've got Matt Olson on the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
He's got 900 OPS, which is really good. He's got 270 batting average consistently, which is like a little under that actually. That was just this year. So, which is good, definitely good. It's not like elite, but it's good. But this year he had like about 40 home runs, so 270 batting average, 40 home runs. That's a really good season, and he's been really consistent for the past years.
Yeah.
Like never really had a bad year.
Yeah, and he gets on base a lot for his batting average. So like he had a 911 OPS this year, but he really has had a couple of subpar years in the past. So averaging that out, particularly with the batting average, I know people tend to look at that a little bit less, but I think that we do evaluate that.
Yes.
At number 29, we've got Bo Bichette, and he's way younger than I thought. He's only 23, and he's already had this much success. Like, he placed 12th in MVP voting this year. He's definitely really solid batting average, like around 300 consistently in the only 3 seasons he's been in that MLB. Almost 30 home runs this year, and he probably hit for more power later because he's so young, and he'll probably bulk up more.
He's had a 300 batting average every year he's played.
Yeah, so we kind of feel like he's on an upwards trajectory, and that's why we ranked him where we did.
So next up, we've got Jose Altuve, who's actually declining, like basically everyone on this list. And although this year he's coming back a little bit because 2020 was a little rough for him, sub 220 batting average. But every single other year before that, he was so good, like MVP 1 year, MVP voting like a lot, like almost 300 batting average consistently.
Yeah.
This year was 280 batting average.
But he hit the power.
And 31 home runs. So this is a comeback year for him, I think. Not as good as he'd been before 2020, but definitely a comeback year, and we can expect more from him.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Shane Bieber, Cy Young 2020. He was, like, so good in 2020. Like, nobody did what he did in 2020. Like, the best in every single category.
Yeah.
Like, better than deGrom 2020.
Like, he had, like, a 160 ERA in 2020.
Yep.
Like, he was really good. And I was
14.2 strikeouts per 9. That's crazy. It's just 2 months, but that's a crazy ratio.
Yeah, and this year's a little lower than that, but still really good. Like,
I feel like every year, except for not including 2021, he just kept getting better. Like,
and this year was still really good.
Yeah,
like,
he was still good.
Second best season, like barely above 3.
Yeah. His whip was a little
ERA.
high considering the elite status, but that's the only peripheral that is on the high side. He's really solid.
Yeah.
Number 26, we have Jesse Winker, who had a breakout year this year.
For sure.
He was flying a little under the radar before then, but this year he had 24 home runs and a 305 batting average. Whoa. Home runs are a little low, but they're not bad. But the batting average was really
The
He
batting
was in the
average.
All-Star game.
Yeah, and he has like a 950 OPS. He's 28. Okay, so he's a little older. And he's in his 5th season. He just finished his 5th season. So this really was his breakout year. First All-Star game. This is his first big year.
But he's had a good batting average every year.
Yeah, he has. He's had some solid years. But this is the first year he really just kind of elevated.
So the other years it kind of went unnoticed.
Yep. and he had the most plate appearances he's ever had. So we think it looks like that this is repeatable.
Yeah.
Number 25, Nick Castellanos. Again, he had a breakout year, but he's a longer career than Jesse Winker and also more consistent.
He sort of hit the next plateau of really name-worthy player.
Yeah, 309 batting average, which is actually surprisingly not the first time he had above 300 batting average.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 34 home runs, which is the most home runs he's ever had. But all in all, this was a really good season, and I think he's been pretty consistent in his career, and I think he can keep it up.
Yeah.
24, Zach Wheeler. He's an ex-Met. He was solid on the Mets. Like, he never had a bad season on the Mets.
Yeah.
I think he had Tommy John surgery, right? Or some sort of surgery
he did.
that kept him out.
He was out for a couple of years.
Yeah, but he came back, and he was really good. But ever since he left the Mets, I painfully say, he's been like a Cy Young contender.
Yeah.
Even though he was good on the Mets, he's just way better now.
Yeah.
On the team I hate.
Yep. He's really, really good.
Yeah. 23 of Corey Seager, who is way better than I thought he was. He just signed a massive deal with the Rangers, which really, they're paying him way too much. But I thought it overvalued him more than it did. Like, he's been placed, he's been in the All-Star game. He's placed in MVP voting. At best, third. He won Rookie of the Year.
Yep. He's another guy with consistency at shortstop.
And also, you can expect him to have somewhere near 300 batting average and, like...
20, maybe around 20 or sub-20 home runs.
Which is a little low in the home run standpoint, but batting average makes up for it. And it's not bad.
Like, in this year, he had over 900 OPS. So, like, OPS plus of 145. So, that's real solid.
Yeah, 22, one of my dad's favorite players, Walker Buehler.
Yeah, he's like a very good young talent. And he's been solid every year.
Yeah. ERA hovering around like 275-ish, which is a really good ERA.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's kind of already established himself as, this consistent, really good pitcher, and he's 27. So that's really, I feel like that's impressive.
Yeah, and pitchers peak later, so he's probably like up from here.
He could have quite a career.
I feel like, he's still getting better. Like...
It's his best year this year. I think he could win Cy Young.
Yeah, me too.
I think he could be in the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah,
if he keeps going.
He could.
Yeah, number 21, Xander Bogaerts, another guy who I didn't know was still really good.
2019 was his real standout year. That was the big year he built up to that year. His whole career built up to that year, and I feel like we're still thinking about that. He had a batting average just under 300. This year, which is
and 300 2020 and 309 2019.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can expect him to have a probably sub 300 batting average next year, but still really good.
And he's been in the MVP voting the last 4 years. So
and you can expect him to have like 20 something home runs, which is definitely solid.
In 2019, he even had 33.
And number 20, one of my least favorite players in all of baseball, Carlos Correa.
Yeah, I can't get over him cheating. But in this
also
video,
being
we're
like
not going to talk about it.
Super arrogant about it.
But we're giving him credit for what he's done on the field in this video. So he had it was a good year for him. He had 280 batting average, 26 home runs. I'm trying to figure out why we ranked him so high.
Yeah, me too.
So I do feel like he's really good. I mean, I feel like he gets a lot of hype, and I feel like sometimes we're trying so hard not to underrank the Astros that I think this time we might have overdone it a little bit. But he's definitely a solid player.
Yeah.
He's been solid, and he's also an exceptional fielder.
Yeah.
And free agent. So, for the record, it's a new day, you can probably tell, but just disclaimer, not going to hide that. Anyway, so, number 19, Manny Machado.
Yeah.
So, Manny Machado was really good. He was better last year, but he was still really good this year.
He was an MVP candidate last year. Obviously, in 2020, it's not easier to have a good year, but in some ways, it's, different to have a good year. So, that I take into account, but he's still really good.
Yeah.
Also, that was not the first time he's been considered MVP voting. He was also fourth in 2015 and 5th in 2016. Also, like, he in 2020 he had a really good batting average of 304, which is insane. This year he had a good one too, 278. That's definitely not bad. And he's had around 300 before, but I wouldn't project 300. I'd probably project around similar to this year, but it's still really good. And he's not lacking in the home runs either, around 30.
Yeah.
So that's impressive. Next up, Gerrit Cole. He's so he's a little hard to rank because his best years were when he was cheating and using sticky substances, but he hasn't fallen off too much since then. Like, he had to figure out how to pitch without them first, but then after that, like, trial, like, period, almost, like, he's been good. Like, around a little over 3 ERA this year, and then the past few years he's had under 3 ERA, which is elite.
Really. Yeah, he's fallen off a tiny bit since like 2019. I feel like that was like whatever he was doing in 2019.
Cheating.
Maybe the cheating just made that little bit of difference. But he's a top pitcher even when he's not cheating. But maybe he's not the 2019 pitcher.
Number 17, the best catcher in baseball. Sorry, JT Realmuto. Salvador Perez.
Yes.
Salvador Perez had like a kind of a comeback year this year, but kind of in a way he didn't really come back because he never left. It just people forgot about him. But he was so good this year. He set a home run record for a catcher, 48. That's insane. He had the most home runs in all of baseball, which is crazy for a catcher, especially since he seemed to, like, previous years we were thinking that he wasn't that good anymore, but like clearly he is.
In the past few years, he was okay. I mean, he was pretty good.
Yeah, for a catcher, he was really good for he's been really solid for a catcher. 2019 he didn't play because of injury. So 2020 I kind of say is a wash, even though he had a good 2020. And 2018 he had a low batting average, high home runs, and he's had high home runs, and his batting average has hovered between the 230s and 300. I mean, he has played a lot of games for a catcher, but for a catcher, he's always been on the high home run side. But 48 is that's a new ceiling, and he had a lot of at bats and plate appearances for a catcher. So that is also unique about him. He plays DH quite a bit, I think.
Okay, Number 16, Jose Ramirez. He had a really good season in this year and 2020. He was on my dad's fantasy baseball team, first round pick, I might add. On both of his teams.
I had 2 late first round picks, but he's a good fantasy guy because of he has stolen bases, he's got consistency, he's got
batting average,
and he's got a good like we do some advanced stats, so he's got good like OPS. He is good on base. And
also, like, pretty high home runs, like almost 40 this year.
Yeah. So I think that he's a really solid and consistent player.
Yeah, he's good at like every stat.
Yeah, batting average is maybe the one that he's not as good at, but the batting average has come to mean a little bit less, even though we still
also it's solid.
Mm-hmm.
Number 15, we have Aaron Judge. Dude mashes home runs. Like, when he's healthy, he's insane. Like, he had the rookie home run record before Pete Alonso beat him.
He's really good, but he just can't stay healthy. That's just he just can't.
Yeah.
Given a whole season, which actually he pretty much had this year.
Fourth in MVP voting.
Yeah, and he's fourth. Yeah, so given a whole season, he's going to be one of the top players in the league, if not the top. So if he has the games, he's a top guy.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have Rafael Devers at number 14.
He's a good young third baseman.
Yeah.
And he's had a good few years. Like, he is how old? 25, right?
He's almost 25, so he's actually 24.
He's insane.
And he even started in 2017, which is like...
Yeah, so his biggest thing is his defense, which he needs to pick up. But for a young baseball player, he's put up some crazy numbers. Some, like, 38 home runs. He's peaked out at a 311 batting average. He's been in MVP voting twice already at 24. So he's just... You feel like we haven't seen the best of him yet. So we rated him pretty high.
Yeah.
All right, next up at number 13, we have Max Scherzer. dude's like crazy. Like, how are you 37 and still have never had a bad year? Like, every year we expect him to fall off, and then he doesn't.
So I think one of the things about Max Scherzer, it's not just I think he has the talent, but he also has like the ultimate baseball mindset. He's a super, super intense competitor. And I feel like he's one of those guys where he just is competing at the highest level all the time. And I feel like that is part of it. And coming to New York is what you can't imagine that's going to hurt a guy like him.
Yeah, and he's on the Mets now. So next up at 12, we have Marcus Semien, who was really good on the Blue Jays this year. He used to be on the A's, and he was good there too. But
he just like broke out in 2021. Like, I don't even know how he broke out because he was still good. He just like demolished. Like, he was amazing.
He hit like a new high. I mean, 2019, he actually was third in MVP voting this year and in 2019. But his numbers were just more impressive this year. He definitely stood out.
Yeah, and he was behind Vladdy and Ohtani, so that's not even like no shade on him. Like those two guys in front of him were insane this year.
Yeah, it was a contract year for him, which is very good on him.
Yeah, 1 year deal.
Yeah.
Number 11, Mookie Betts, possibly future Hall of Famer. We were just talking about that. He's already got a 50 WAR.
Almost definitely, unless he gets injured or unless he just falls off a cliff.
This year was like an off year for him, but it wasn't even that bad for an off year with like a 264 batting average and 23 home runs, which is still good. It's just not Mookie Betts level.
And he's like always been very good. Like he's very consistent. He's a good batting average guy. He's a good home run guy. He's good at like every stat.
He won MVP in 2018.
Yeah. This is the first year in 6 years that he hasn't been in MVP voting. So he is a possible, like generational talent.
Next Mike Trout.
It seems like he's like just a step down from Mike Trout if he can put up the career, if he can do it for a whole career.
Next up, the first person in the top 10, we've got Trea Turner, shortstop, ex-national. So he's a really good shortstop.
He's a great shortstop. End
of segment. He's a good
batting average. Actually, he doesn't have a ton of home runs, but he's hit as much as 28. He's a speedy guy.
He is so fast.
Yeah, he terrorizes the base pass. If you don't mind me using terrorize in that context. The
bases are afraid.
Yeah, the bases are afraid.
He had a batting title this year.
Yeah, and every year he's consistently put up a good batting average.
Yeah, yep. So we have pretty high stock on him.
Yeah. At number 9, we have the best pitcher in baseball, New York Met, Jacob deGrom.
Yes, Jacob deGrom has had amazing stats every single year. And he's just really, really good.
He's won Cy Young 2 times. It would be 4 if it wasn't for the shortened season and injury. And we did mark him down a tiny bit just because of injury, and there's a chance he'll need Tommy John surgery, but probably not.
Not.
If he needs Tommy John surgery, I will cry. So
I think we all will.
Yeah. Well, every single Mets fan, all the Philly fans will be laughing. But anyway, so this year he was doing what nobody else has ever done. His strikeout rate was insane, 14.3 strikeouts per 9. He got like 16 strikeouts in like 8 innings one time in a game. He was in the All-Star game. He was injured and missed half the season. He still got 9th in Cy Young voting because that's how insane he is. He had a 1.08 ERA, which is crazy, and it was less than 1 most of the season. He just had like a 1 blow-up inning, and then it went down.
He had a .55 WHIP. So this is like a half a season of innings. So he was just on a record-breaking track.
And if he didn't get injured, it would have been like it would have been breaking records and everything.
So number 8, another guy we marked down for injury just because we don't know if he's ever going to play the same again after surgery and stuff, is Ronald Acuña Jr. He's 24 years old, which is actually older than I thought.
He's still young. He's just older than I thought.
He is young.
Yeah. And I think he's going to be fine. Like, I think it's fine. It just...
the thing that I worry about most is his speed. His speed game, which is a big part of what makes him an exciting player.
Yeah.
But he has more than just speed, luckily.
He's really fast, He has a fairly good batting average, but most of all, he hits dingers.
We can end it there. Number 7, Fernando Tatis Jr. I think he's a tad overrated just because of how exciting he is. Not take away from how amazing he is, because he's insane. He's so talented, and he's not even 23 yet.
Yeah.
But by the way, happy early birthday, Tatis.
Yeah.
His birthday is in 2 days.
Right, a day after his dad, according to our research.
Yeah.
Which is minimal.
Which is that's weird.
Yeah, so he had 42 home runs. He had a 975 OPS, which is insane, a 166 OPS plus. But he's had a lot of injuries already in his short time, and he's had a little bit of an uneven batting average, and I guess his OPS has been over 900 throughout his career. So I mean, he certainly deserves this spot in our spotting.
Number 6 is the reigning NL MVP, Bryce Harper.
Yes. As much as I hate Bryce Harper, he's really good.
Yes. And you can't take that from him. He had 35 home runs and a 309 batting average, which is just
really
an insane
good.
season.
Yeah.
His OPS plus was 179, and his OPS was 1.044.
Yeah, those are...
And it was the best in the National League. So,
and it's not his first time winning MVP either. He won it in 2015.
Yeah, and his 2015 year was arguably an even better year. So he came up as like the most hyped player in baseball, and Trout has surpassed him in career. But he puts it together. Some years he really shows that he deserved that hype.
And this was kind of a comeback year for him, just because he hasn't had a bad year, but he's been a little inconsistent in that he is barely ever at this level.
Yeah.
But he's so good, and he definitely deserves to be on this. Next up is someone who's actually a little underrated, Freddie Freeman.
He is so good every single year. He has a good batting average. He has a good amount
Around
of
300.
runs. Yeah, he is just too good.
NL MVP in 2020, which was a shortened season, but it's still a good accomplishment, and you can't take that away from him.
He may have a little bit of a lower ceiling than maybe like Tatis, Harper, Acuña, but he's so consistent that we just have to project him above them.
Yeah. Number 4, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He had an insane season this year. So good.
So good.
Like, dude, how do you have 48 home runs, 311 batting average, a 1.002 OPS, and a 169 OPS plus? Like, that's an insane season. Like, how do you play that well?
Yeah. And he's 23. Yeah, I mean, he's not 23 yet. He's 22. So this is a guy who everyone thought would make it. He lost the weight, and he finally put it together. And he's like, this is, for most people, this is an MVP season. He just happened to be playing against someone who had an historic baseball year.
And that person is next.
Yes.
Yeah, and
spoiler alert.
He had 15 home runs, 9 home runs, and then 48. Like, how does that happen?
Now, you already know who's next, because I told you. Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, first of all, he's a batter and a pitcher.
And he's so good at both!
Yeah. I think Mike Trout said it best when he was comparing Vlad and Ohtani. He said Vlad's a bit of a better hitter, but Ohtani's definitely a better pitcher.
And dude, he hit 46 home runs, and he got less playing time because he's a pitcher, and he still had like a 3-something ERA, right?
He had 156 strikeouts. He had 26 stolen bases. It's like when you talk about 5 tools. He has the speed. He has the velocity. He's got the power. It was an amazing year. Yeah. So the second amazing loses the A because it's just that good.
And he does have some injury issues, but we're looking past that because of how dominant he was this year.
Right. He was so good that he gets credit for a possible repeat.
So at number 2 is our most consistent out of all the young hitters we mentioned, Juan Soto. His strong suit is probably like batting average and walking. He walks an insane amount.
Yeah.
His OPS was .999. His OPS plus was 175. His batting average was 313. So, and just his on base percentage
He's an on base
was
guy.
465.
He's an on base guy.
How is your batting average 313 and your on base percentage is 465? That's more than 100 points higher.
He's like the best pure hitter in baseball in terms
Yes.
of patience at the plate and just ability.
And he was second in MVP voting, and he hit almost 30 home runs. And, dude, he's just so consistent. Like, his batting average is always around 300. He's never had an on-base percentage under 400. And he led OPS, slugging, and on-base percentage in 2020, which is ridiculous. In 2020, he had a 217 OPS plus. Like, oh my god.
I can go on and on about how good he is. And also a special thing about him is he walks a good amount more than he strikes out.
Yes.
Yes. He's one of those guys. He could be one of the all-time best hitters if he keeps this
Future
up.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Now, number one, he's already slotted into the Hall of Fame. Like, as soon as he retires, he's gonna be in, like, immediately.
The one, the only,
Mike Trout!
Cody Ballinger. Wait, we're saying Mike Trout? Oh, oopsies.
No, it's Mike Trout.
Yeah. So, do we need to talk about Mike Trout? We don't, but we're going to. How many times has he won MVP? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
3-time MVP. He never hasn't been in MVP voting except this year because he was injured most of the year. So, he was in the All-Star game and he wasn't even eligible to play in the All-Star game because he was injured.
But they still voted him in. That's how good he is. I can't even explain how good he is every single year. He just keeps hitting home runs.
It's actually kind of annoying.
He keeps stealing bases.
Yeah.
He keeps having a good batting average.
He already has a better career WAR than Derek Jeter. So I like to put that out.
And he's like 30, right?
He's 30. He's 30 years old, so he's still got plenty of production ahead of him.
It's not even fair how
He's
good he is.
been a little bit injured lately.
And they were minor before this year.
Yeah, they like in 2019 he had injuries, but it didn't stop him from getting MVP. So not so bad. Yeah, so it's hard not to give him the credit he deserves. He's number one.
Yeah. Like at basically every category. Like he's consistent with home runs. He like tops out at like 45, which is really good. Mm-hmm. And then batting average, he's had like 3 over 3, and then usually around 3. And then he's led the league in on-base percentage, slugging, and OPS plus. Like, and runs, and even walks and RBIs. Like, almost every category. Like, what can't he do?
So, and I'm going to say this, personal challenge to Mike Trout. This year, I'm noticing here you don't have any Golden Gloves. Win us the Golden Glove, buddy, and you'll make number one next year.
Yeah, do it now.
Mike Trout is good!